So now let's talk about adding fillets, and for that I'll use this 3D drawing. So the fillet tool is right here. Select this, and now we have several options here. Let's see the first two tabs here. So we have the manual and the fillet expert. In this case, I'll only use the manual tab. We'll talk about fillet expert later on in this course. Now we have 4 different fillet types. I'll select the first one, which is the constant size fillet, and then we'll go to items to fillet, check this box if it's not selected, and then select the edge on which you want to apply the fillet. So I'll just pan this drawing, maybe here, orbit this, and I'll select this edge. Now as soon as I made the selection, look at this, a new pop-up will show up here. Now this pop-up is an intelligent selection option which will let you select edges. For example, selecting the first one will select all the edges that you can see here in pink. Then the second one will select the edges which are connected end to end, and then all the edges which are connected as a chain, and several other options that we have. So depending on the selection that you make here, the edges will be selected. In this case, I don't want to select any of these edges. I just want my current selection, so I'll just ignore that one. So here it is. Now also we've got this tab here, or the panel, or whatever you want to call this. On this we have the radius. So the same radius is also available on the fillet parameters, which has this 5 mm value. So you can change the radius of this fillet from here, or you can just click inside this palette and change the value from here as well. So in this case, I'll just type 10 and press enter key to change this, and you'll notice that the value will change here as well. Now let's select multiple edges in this case. So I'll just pan my drawing a little bit, and I'll select this edge and maybe this edge too. So we've got 3 edges selected, but all of these edges will now have a radius of 10 unit. And that is happening because we don't have multi-radius fillet selected. So in the fillet parameters, check this box, multi-radius fillet, and now every fillet has its own radius value. So you can now change these values from here. For example, I just want to make it smaller, so I'll just click here and I'll make it 5 and enter. And I'll leave these 2 fillets at the radius of 10 unit. Now let's go to the first option here. So in the items to fillet, so far we've selected these 3 edges, and all the 3 selected edges will show up here. Now if you want to remove any of these edges, then you can just go to this panel here, right click on the edge that you want to remove and select delete. You can also go to this area, and from here just click on the edge that you want to remove. So in this case, I don't want to remove any, so I'll select this once again. And that's added again, but with a radius of 10 unit. So now we have the selection toolbar, and that's this selection toolbar. Let me select an edge, and we have the selection toolbar. So if you don't want the selection toolbar, you can uncheck this. So let me uncheck this. I'll just uncheck this, and now maybe I'll select this, and we no longer have that selection toolbar, as you can see. Now currently we have the full preview of the fillet. So every single fillet has its preview as shown in this yellow color, and that's because of this. If you select partial preview, all the fillets will have only one preview. So it will show you the preview, and if you select no preview, there won't be any preview. I'll recommend keeping this first option, full preview, active. Also, with the preview activated, if you increase this fillet radius, for example, I'll make it 50, and I'll press tab key, or maybe I'll just increase it even further to 100. Now at some point the fillet will fail. So in this case, let me select just one more edge, and there we have it. So I've selected a fillet of 100 mm radius, and then I selected a new edge, but there is no preview even when this full preview is selected. Now that's a clear indication that your fillet will now fail. So in this case, all you need to do is just decrease this number to a reasonable one that will make this fillet physically possible, and now it is possible, so you get the preview once again. Alright, so with these selections, maybe I'll just uncheck this. I'll now create the first fillet, so I'll just click OK, and here we have the fillet. Now the fillet will be added as a feature here in the feature manager, and it's completely editable. So if you want to modify this fillet, then right click and select edit feature, and you can once again go back to the fillet tool and then modify it again. For example, maybe I'll decrease the radius to a smaller value of, let's say, 5, And in this case, it is affecting only this radius, and that's because we have multi-radius fillet checked. So I'll uncheck this. Now all the other radii are also 5 unit. So I'll click OK, and here we are. So we have the fillet of 5 radius everywhere. Now I'll go to this and I'll delete this. So right click and delete fillet, select yes, and we are back to the same drawing. Now let's see what other options we have. So I'll go to fillet, and now I'll select the second option, which is this variable size fillet. Now this will let you create fillets of variable size as the name suggests, and in this case I'll select this edge. Alright, and we've got this fillet. Now this may not look kind of very interesting now because, well, we just have a single line, we don't see the preview yet, but still it will create a fillet. But before we do anything, let me change some parameters here. So the first thing is this radius. Now we have two vertices, V1 and V2. That's the V1 and V2. Select it, and actually the V1 is this one. As you can see, when I selected V1, it selected this, then V2 should be this, and yes, it is V2. So you can select these vertices and now change the radius separately. So I'll select V1 and I'll make it, well, maybe 6. Then I'll go to V2 and I'll make it 12. All right, so there it is. So V2 is 12 and V1 is 6. Okay, it is again back to 12, so I'll just make it smaller. So 6 and tab key. There we have it. So now V1 is 6 and V2 is 12, and with the change you can clearly see how it's moving like a funnel here. So since I have this kind of cylindrical shape and I don't want to interfere the fillet here, and for that I can simply decrease the radii here, but that also depends on the part where you're adding the fillet. So I've got the variable radius, and if you want to add even more points, then you can do that using these pink dots. So currently we only have 3 points in between the starting and end point, but you can change that here. So we have 3, you can make it 4, 5, however number of points you want. So no matter how many points you want, you can just change it here. So in this case, I'll maybe make this radius smaller. So I'll just click on this point, and now we have radius and percentage value. In the radius, I'll click and I'll change that to 3 and enter. Now it's very small. The percentage value is actually the percent distance. So this was 0.1. So it's at 0%. This is at 100%. So if you want to move it closer to this point, decrease this value. If you want to move it further away from that point, increase this value. So maybe I'll just make it 32%, and I can see it will move further away from that point. All right, so with these, I'll now click OK again, and here we have it, the variable fillet. Let's see what else we have. So I'll go to fillet again, and now I'll just scroll down and I'll show you some options from this fillet options panel. But before that, I just need to delete this fillet. So I'll just maybe cancel this out, select this variable fillet, and I'll delete it. Now I'll go to fillet and I'll select this edge and I'll select this edge. So pretty basic, but look at this. Here also we have an edge, and even if it's not visible, I'm still able to select that. And that's because of this option, select through faces. When you keep this one checked in the fillet options panel, this will let you select edges which are not even visible. For example, if I move my cursor here, you can see that that edge is visible. I can even select this edge or even this one. So here it is. I've got these edges selected just because of this select through faces option. Now if I click OK, the fillet will be applied, but since I've selected variable radii, it is not going to make the fillet, so I need to change the fillet type. So I'll move up. So I'll select the first one, which is constant size fillet, and OK. And we have fillet on all of these edges.